On Plugged In, Married Too Soon. Each year, 12 million girls, children under the age of 18, are denied their most basic rights, forced to give up their education, career opportunities, and their innocence. Not by choice, but often because their culture says so. We will hear from child brides and activists who have set the goal of ending child marriages by the year 2030, when we look at the challenges and the costs of doing nothing. On this week's episode of Plugged In, The Worth of a Girl. Hello, welcome to Plugged In. I'm Greta Van Susteren. 12 million is a staggering number, and it is the estimated number of underage girls, children, who each year get married. Some are forced, some do it out of obligation, and some out of desperation. And the problem of child brides is not one confined to lower-income countries. We're about to introduce you to 4 young women from different parts of the world, all of them with one thing in common.
سمیه به مکتب میرفتم صنف 7 بودم 10 روز بمونده بود که امتحانا سالم نخوابم که برم صنف 8 عروسی که بکردم دیگه نگذاشتم هرچی که من گفتم میرم به مکتب میرم امی خسول و خوشم همگی گفتن که اگه تو بری به مکتب
Unë quhem Orkida Driza, jam martuar në moshën 13 vjeç e 7 muaj.
Okay, Kathleen Burns. I live in Dyersburg, Tennessee. I work all the time, take care of my baby and the husband. That's about it.
Nilikuwa naishi na mamangu, siku moja ilikuwa usiku mamangu aliniita akaniambia mwanangu kuna mtu akatokea akafanya kazi za ndani. Nilifika zangu nyumbani baada ya siku ya mama akaniita kaniambia na mimi mimi basi siku nishinda tu kuambia kuna mtu amekuja ndao anataka kukuoa. Huyo baba mzuri tu mdogo. Mimi hapa nikafanyaje nikamwambia mama mimi kuolewa sitaki nikaa nalia. بعد از عروسی هم می شوهر معقول بود مادر پیش میکرد پیار پیش میکرد این مرمه زده دو میداد باز همه به پدر مادر هیچ چی نمیگفتم به هیچ کسی چی نمیگفتم باز هم به من رقم تیر میکردم.
I got pregnant underage and that was kind of what had us go ahead and get married so I wouldn't send him to jail. A lot of people look down on him for it and stuff, you know, but like I told him, I don't care what anybody thinks. I love him, you know, it is what it is. I did not graduate. I do regret, you know, not finishing school, growing up way too fast. You know, that's just stuff you shouldn't do when you're a kid, honestly. I see that all now, I didn't see it then though, so, and you can't change it.
Njëra nga motrat e mia që ishte, domethënë, ishte më lart pak më e madhe se te unë, vuante me një sëmundje të rëndë, domethënë nga vesh. Mamaja ime vendosi që të bënte motrën operacion, që të më martonte mua me dikë tjetër dhe të bënte motrën operacion, sepse ky njeri që më mori mua për djalin e tij kishte, domethënë, kishte muhabet shumë me doktorët e Durrësit. Ky ishte një detyrim ndaj familjes edhe unë e bëra për hir të si me motre për t'i shpëtuar jetën.
Polisi. Nikazana nao kaniambia inabidi ulipate hilo jina la baba na hizo tarehe. Akaja mwenyekiti wa mtaa. Ulipofika usiku akaja mwenyekiti wa mtaa akasema wewe ndo damani, nikamwambia ndio. Akaniambiaje sisi tumepata taarifa kutoka kituoni kama wewe unataka kuolewa. Kweli wewe? Nikamwambia kweli. Kwa mwenyewe nikamwambia mimi sitaki kuolewa. Basi mwenyekiti tena akatumwa aende kule eneo la tukio. Akaambia hii ndoa isitishe.
Unë I bëj një mesazh të gjithë këtyre nënave, vërtet ne vetë jena martuar në një moshë të vogël, por të paktën fëmijëve tanë të japin një arsimim të mirë dhe fëmia më vajti vajza Bleona 11 vjeçe, edhe merrti dikush ma kërkoi po nga komuniteti, po ishte egyptian. U detyrova, thash për mua, si ta ketë shkujtash Zoti jetën, thash për paktën vetë di që do flej rrugëve, për paktën vetëm fëmijën ta kem të strehuar.
It is hard, but other than that, I don't really miss nothing, you know. I'm fine with how everything turned out with me.
Na nikaendelea kusoma ile shule tuseme, ndoto zangu nataka niwe mwana design mzuri.
مرتاح وعمامي دوران تفليات ولا قصة ما مكتاب خوشتي تونك
Stolen childhoods and these young women, girls, are just a few of the many we profiled in a recent series produced by Voice of America titled The Worth of a Girl. Lina Correa is with VOA's Latin American division, is one of the many VOA journalists who took part in this global production. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
This is one of the reasons I love VOA. It does projects like this. What drew you to this project?
Well, the first goal of this project was to bring awareness, to raise awareness of an issue that affects millions around the world, children, girls, even their families. And it's not in the headlines. It is unbelievable that in the age of women empowerment, this issue is not in the headlines. So that was the main goal. But it was the first time for VOA in many aspects. It was a unique opportunity to tell a story in the way that only VOA can do it. 12 services participated in the project in 12 different languages, and we put together this series.
And when I say 12 services, it means like 12 big divisions, different parts of the world. This VOA is vast.
All around the world.
All around the world.
To discover, and every time that we went deep to find cases, we discovered even more unexpected issues. For example, that this is not a problem from third world countries. Even in the United States, a developed country, you found a lot of cases about this phenomenon.
Do they all have sort of the same origin? Is it cultural? Is it money, an economic, or religious? I mean, or is there no common theme? We just have a lot of child brides out there.
Yes, but it's mostly dragged by those issues that you mentioned, economic issues, cultural issues, belief issues, and poverty issues and lack of opportunities. One of the conclusions that we reached was that many of the girls regret being married for any reason, but the most that they regret was not being able to go back to school.
Right. Now, there's a big difference between 16, which is still a child, and 5. I just picked that number of a hat. Is there a range of how young these child brides are?
Well, it depends on the culture too, because we discovered that in some cultures, since they are all practically born, they are promised to an older man to sustain the future of the family. But in some places, like in Latin America, where I was part of the production, we found that mostly economic reasons contribute to increase this phenomenon. We found a very, very illustrative case in Mexico. It was in an isolated place, mostly inhabited by indigenous people, Chiapa del Corso. We found that not only the bride, but the groom was underage. And this case was not caused because the parents obligate them to get married because of an undesired pregnancy. No, they wanted to be married.
Did you find any sort of now adult women who are child brides who see nothing wrong with this or don't see this as a violation of human rights, or that for whatever reason they think that this is acceptable?
Of course, and that is the perversiveness of this phenomenon, because it became normal for many cultures. They don't see anything wrong. And like for example, in the Mexico case, our correspondent, because we work in close collaboration with our affiliates in Latin America, but our correspondent interviewed the parents. And allow me to read what the father of the groom explained, why he finally accepted this union. And he said, if I keep them out, they might pick up a bad habit, some vice or drug addiction. Remember, it's Mexico, and all over Latin America, these problems are huge. And that would be my fault. What I have ended up doing is better supporting them as much as I possibly can.
Thank you. It's incredible, incredible work. Thank you. Mention child marriage, and the first thing that comes to mind are young girls in developing countries forced by their parents because of economic hardship or by cultural custom to marry an older man. But young girls getting married happens more often and in more parts of the world than many of us would like to believe.
American Ashley Duncan was barely out of middle school when she learned she was pregnant.
And I was 15, Daniel was 18, and my family had believed that in the state of Missouri that if you are over 18 and have intercourse with anybody under 18 that it was statutory rape or something.
Rather than risk sending him to jail, Ashley married her 18-year-old boyfriend. She's now 25, divorced, and the single mother of 4 young boys. But she is not alone. 3 of Ashley's cousins were also married before the age of 18, joining the 200,000 minors in 41 U.S. states who were married between the years 2000 to 2015. But child marriage is far more common outside the United States. About 650 million children and women alive today were married before the age of 18. That's roughly 17% of the world's female population. In Africa, in sub-Saharan countries like Niger, Chad, and Central African Republic, 3 of every 4 girls are married by the age of 18. In Bangladesh, it's 59%, followed by Nepal at 40%. In Afghanistan, more than 1/3 of all young girls are married by 18. The same goes for Brazil, Nicaragua, and Honduras. And also in Laos, where 35% of girls are married by 18.
Most of the girls who marry before 18 do so because there's a lack of viable alternatives.
The World Bank and the United Nations are working with various organizations around the globe to come up with better alternatives. Their goal? To eradicate child marriage by the year 2030.
More than 190 countries have adopted the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals of ending child marriage in the next 10 years. An ambitious goal for sure, but is it even possible? Our next guest says it is. Lyric Thompson is the Director of Policy and Advocacy at the International Center for Research on Women. She's a member of a number of advocacy coalitions, including Girls Not Brides USA and the Coalition to End Gender-Based Violence Globally. She has also more than a decade of experience in global gender and development issues, including women's economic empowerment. Lyric Thompson joins us from Raleigh, North Carolina. Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
This issue of child brides is, it's so widespread worldwide. It's an ambitious goal to end it by 2030. Number one is, what do you have cutoff age, and 2, how does this end? How do you convince people not to do this?
Sure. Well, the good news is it's ambitious, but it's achievable. I think I'm a fan of setting goals that we can achieve. Now, do we need to up our level of ambition to do that? I think so. But my organization has distinguished itself in testing solutions, not only documenting the problem, and you did a very great job of showing the global scope and impact of the practice, but also people want to know what they can do to help, and that's where we come in. And we have done a global review of every program or policy that attempted to end child marriage that was evaluated. So that's not the entire universe of efforts, but those that actually invested in saying, did it work? And we were able to distill from that review that there were 5 strategies that can end the practice. So I think the answer is yes, we can end it, but we really got to get on the gun.
Where is the cutoff, though? There's some probably 17-year-olds who might be watching right now, been married for 10 or 15 years, happily married. But then I assume that there's a bottom number, and which I think most people would find appalling, a very young girl. Where does your organization sort of draw the line, or how do you determine that?
So we ascribe to the internationally agreed age of majority, which is from the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, which says the age of 18 is when you go from being a child to being an adult. I think what you're getting at is the bit of fluctuation that you see between countries that have different ages, and then in the United States we have different ages by state. And so the cutoff from our perspective is age of 18, no exceptions, because what you actually see in a lot of cases, including our own and including my home state of North Carolina, where I am today, you can see differences for girls and boys, where the girls' age for marriage is actually lower. You can see exceptions for pregnancy, as we heard in the story at the top of the segment. So our opinion is age of 18, no exceptions, and that's what we're working towards by 2030.
What's the youngest you've seen in terms of child brides?
In the United States, the youngest age of marriage was actually New Hampshire, which just changed its age of marriage this year, but that was 12. You can certainly, as you heard earlier in the segment, see countries where girls are promised from girlhood and even infancy. So it really runs the gamut and does change slightly for geographic context.
I would imagine sort of there'd be a cultural hurdle to overcome, that some people may believe that this is appropriate, and be harder to sort of explain that, why you might not want to have your child be engaged at a very young age, like for instance 5.
Certainly. I think all cultures, including our own, have a hard time with, for instance, as you heard in the earlier story, the idea that an unmarried pregnant girl was worse than being in marriage. Work by ICRW and others has actually shown that when you have the power dynamic of a girl being married, that's not actually protective in all cases. You see increases of gender-based violence in the home, increases in maternal and child health issues, which including death. And of course, as was mentioned by several of the folks we heard from earlier in the segment, very likely that she will not continue in school, which may be the biggest indicator of a life that is likely to be lived in poverty and servitude.
Thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure.
As you've seen and heard, there are different reasons why some children marry. Some face financial hardship, abuse, and even abandonment. That is the story of Mahi from Bangladesh. Her story is different because she blames in part herself for her husband's decision to leave.
আমার নাম মাহি। আমার যখন 11 বছর বয়স চলে, তখন আমার বাবা মা আমাকে একটা ভালো ছেলে দেখে বিয়ে দিচ্ছিল, কিন্তু তারা জানে নাই যে তারা যেটা যাচাই করে নাই ছেলেটা কি ভালো না খারাপ। 2-3 জনের কথা শুনে, বাড়ি গাড়ি দেখে, মানুষের কথাবার্তা শুনে, ময় মুরব্বি নিয়ে আমার বিয়ের কথা ঠিক করে আমি নিজেও জানি না। তারপরে আমি বলছি যে আমি এখন বিয়ে করব না, আমি পড়তে চাই। আমার মারে বললাম যে মা আমি এখন বিয়ে করব না, আমি পড়তে চাই। আমার দুলাভাইকে বললাম, আমার আপুকে বললাম, তারা বলতেছে না বিয়েটা দেই, বিয়ে তো এখন আমরা গরিব মানুষ, পড়ালেখা করেও কি করতে পারবি, ভালো কোনো চাকরি করতে পারবি না, কিছু করতে পারবি না জীবনে, বিয়ে দেই, স্বামী নিয়ে সংসার করে থাক। আমি সবাইকে বলার পর দেখলাম কি না আমার বিয়েটা এখানে হয়েই যাচ্ছে। তার জন্য আমি এই বিয়েতে রাজি হই। আমার বিয়ের পর আমি আমার স্বামীকে বিয়ের পরই দেখছি, বিয়ের আগে দেখিনি। বিয়ের প্রায় 5-6 মাস পরেই বলতেছে যে মাইনুর দেখো ইয়া করছে, আমি একটা চার দোকান দিব, যদি ওখান থেকে পারো আমাকে 20,000 টাকা জোগাড় করে দাও। তো আমার তো স্বামী চাইছে, স্বামীকে কেউ অবিশ্বাস করে, তা আমি করিনি। আমি বুঝতে পারিনি যে আমার স্বামীর মনের ভিতরে এগুলো ছিল যে আমরা ফালাই থেকে চলে যাবে সে। তারপর আমি একজনের কাছ থেকে লাভের উপরে তার আমি 20,000 টাকা এনে দিছি। কয় মাস পরে আমার স্বামী আমাকে ডিভোর্সের কাগজ পাঠিয়ে দেয়। পরে তাও একটু আশা ছিল স্বামীর বিষয়ে যে আমার স্বামী আসবো, কিন্তু আমার স্বামী আমার পরে ডিভোর্সের কাগজ উনি বিয়ে করে ফেলে। কি করব, এই জীবনটা নিয়ে মানুষ যেখানে যায়, গার্মেন্টসে যায়, গার্মেন্টসের বসেরা বলে একদিন থাকবি, রাস্তায় বেরোলে রাত্রে 8-9 বাজে ছেলেরা বলে কে আয় বাসে চল, আয় 200 দিন 100 দিন এরকম করে বলে। তো কী করবো, বাসা বাড়িতে গেলে কি বলে, বাসা বাড়িতে বলে গেলে কে জোয়ান মেয়ে নেওয়া যাবে না বাসা বাড়িতে। তা আমরা গরিব হয়ে আমরা এতই অপরাধ করলাম যার জন্য আমাদের কোনো জায়গায় ঠাঁই নেই। ঘরে ভাবতেছি হায় রে, যখন স্কুলে যখন পড়তেছিলাম যে আজকে অন্য পর্যন্ত যদি পড়তে থাকতাম তাহলে আজকে মানুষের এত লাঞ্ছনা, এত কথা, এত কিছু শোনা লাগতো না, ভালোটা চাকরি বাকরি করতে পারতাম, ভালোটা কাজকাম করতে পারতাম। কিন্তু অথচ এখন মূর্খ দেখা, এখন পড়া তো দূরের কথা, এখন আজ পর্যন্ত আমার স্বামী আমার লাথি মেরে ফালাইতে হয়ে গেল গা। আর যেটি পড়ালেখা থাকতো তো স্বামী যেতে পারতো না এরকম আমাকে ফালাইতে। আজকে যদি লেখাপড়া করতাম, 5টা জানতাম, বুঝতাম, শুনতাম, তাহলে আজকে আমার এই দিনটা দেখা হইতো না। একমাত্র বাবা মার ভুলের কারণে আর বিয়েটা হয়ে যাওয়ার কারণে আজকে আমি এই রাস্তায়, আজকে আমি এই পথে। তাই আমি সবার কাছে বলবো একটা কথাই কমু, যে আমার মতো আমরা চাই না যে কোনো মেয়ের বাবা মা কোনো মেয়েকে অল্প বয়সে বিয়ে দিয়ে কোনো মেয়ের পড়ালেখা নষ্ট করুক বা কোনো মেয়ের জীবনটা নষ্ট করুক। খুব স্বপ্ন ছিল ছোট থেকে আমার যে আমি নায়িকা হব, বা নাটকের হোক বা ছবির হোক, আমার খুব শখ ছিল, আমার জীবনে ছোট্ট একটা আশা ছিল যে আমি নায়িকা হব। আমার কি স্বপ্ন কোনোদিন পূরণ হবে না? আমার স্বপ্নটা পূরণ করতে কেউ সাহায্য করব? আমি কি কোনোদিন আমার স্বপ্নটা পূরণ করতে পারবো না?
The stories of anguish and despair are raw and heart-wrenching, but as some of our guests have suggested, there are solutions to fix this problem. Kekenya Entaya has been there. She was engaged to be married at age 5, was engaged to be married, but at the age of 11, she convinced her parents to call off the marriage. Kekenya is now an activist. After completing her education, she founded Kekenya's Dream to educate girls and end traditional practices such as female genital mutilation and child marriage. In 2009, the Kekenya Center for Excellence opens its door, and each year it reaches thousands of children and community members in rural Kenya. Kekenya, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Your story is extraordinary, and you know we all come to all these issues through our own eyes, obviously. I have no doubt your parents loved you, but they wanted you to get engaged at age 5. How do they see this?
Where I come from, being married is the best thing that can happen to a woman or a girl. Everybody wants, that's the ultimate prize. So my mother was very hardworking, so the neighbors saw that my mother was hardworking, so I am going to be hardworking for their son. So they booked me to be married to their son. And it was, I mean, you grow up knowing that's the ultimate. Your life has already been charted. You know where you're going to end up. But because I was the first of 8, I was helping my mother bring up my little sisters, and I couldn't see myself being a wife at 12.
But that's so bold. I mean, 11-year-old, you convinced your family that you wanted an education. And I mean, what a bold thing to do for an 11-year-old.
Because I had tested a bit of education. I went to school and I wanted to become a teacher.
And so you've developed this program, and which is, I mean, helping young girls, right? That wasn't an easy thing to do. I mean, I've listened to some of your speeches. That was even a struggle to do.
Well, I got an opportunity, and I think an earlier speaker said that many girls don't have opportunities. So my mom helped me go back to school. I traded myself. Of course, FGM and early marriages are mostly linked, but I escaped and went to school. Staying in school was the best thing that happened to me. I got mentored, I got a scholarship, I ended up at the university in America, and my whole world opened up. And that's where the turning point is that however much education I was getting, my younger sisters and neighbors and kids in the villages were still getting married. And when we talk about numbers, I know we've been putting 12 million girls getting married yearly. That's 23 girls every minute. Those are real kids.
How many people in your village growing up about?
10,000.
Okay, and out of 10,000, how many girls besides yourself didn't end up being a child bride? I mean, are you able to quantify it or say what percentage?
What I can tell you, when I started first grade, there were many of us. My very first best friend got married when we were in 6th grade. In 8th grade, we were only 2 girls. Most of them had already gotten married.
One of the things that, that we read about, you say FGM, female genital mutilation. Is that widely practiced?
It is widely practiced.
And mothers this is part. Mothers understand this, and mothers participate in this.
It is a rite of passage to womanhood, and so for you to be married, you have to go through a certain rite of passage. And in my community, it's female genital cutting, and that always, when that happens, a girl gets married. She drops out of schools. She lives in a very difficult life, and the cycle continue.
And in your community back home, that's accepted. I mean, culturally accepted.
Female genital cutting.
Yeah, it is.
It's been practiced for years.
For years, and it's widespread. But I'm saying, when we started this conversation, I say I look through things through my eyes. And through my eyes, that's hurting somebody.
Yeah. Child marriage is hurting children.
And child marriage is hurting people too.
Yeah.
What has been the response to what you've done? I mean, have people embraced your program to get to work against to educate girls and to work against child marriage?
Absolutely. I think one of the things that we have been able to show is to show people what an educated girl looks like. I grew up in the community. I came back to the community. I worked in the community. I took my very first own girls in 2009. Right now, those girls are in university and in colleges. We have worked with the parents. Our belief is that enter into a home through educating a girl. The rest is history. When you educate a girl in a family, she's going to impact the family life. And that's really what has been happening. The parents have come in. At first, they were very skeptical. A woman building a school for girls, but we've been able to show them. And now the community is very supportive. All our girls are free from female genital cutting. They're free from getting married early. They're continuing and thriving. And truly, when you empower a girl, we do change the world.
Your story is such an extraordinary one, and I first saw it on a TED Talk. And I wish we had a whole lot of time. Even like trying to get the men in the community to let you come to the United States to study. As I said, I look through things through my own eyes. I can't imagine that. It's extraordinary what you've done and that you've given back to your community.
I think when you have given an opportunity, you have there's a saying that to whom much is given, much is expected. And so
but you embraced that. You did that. That's like to whom a lot. You have done that.
Because I have so many girls that I see every day, the ones you featured today in the stories, each one of them deserve and want a better life. And if I can do a little something, I'm going to do that to make their life a better life.
Well, it's extraordinary what you've done. I tip my hat to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Wash your hands with soap and water before you eat, after using the toilet, after touching anything many other people touch, like a seat on a public bus. Scrub thoroughly for 20 seconds. If you cannot wash your hands, use a hand sanitizer. Taking these steps can prevent not only coronavirus, but also colds and flu and other viruses. For more information, visit the World Health Organization's website, www.who.int.
That's all the time we have for today. Stay plugged in by liking us on Facebook at Voice America, and you can also like my Facebook page at facebook.com/Greta, and follow me on Twitter at Greta. Thank you for being plugged in.